What is up, guys? Welcome to another one, and this time it's probably going to be the last one before Christmas. Probably not the last one of the year, but anyway, I figured we'd do a little bit special. We've obviously got Kimi Raikkonen in the Sauber, not getting the best of starts. So first things first, you can probably see it's not that different to the last year's car. There's more or less a lot of similarities between this year's, for the season mod at least, and obviously the 2018 Sauber. Now the reason for that is I can't really see them making any drastic changes to the livery. I'd be quite surprised if they strayed away from the red, white and blue, seeing as that was what they released back in, I think it must have been 2017, when they actually showed an old Sauber with that livery, and then sure enough it ended up being the exact same one, maybe with a few differences here and there, but for the most part it's very similar. Now obviously you can see we've got 7 and RAI on the halo, just keep consistency and continuity with the rest of the season. On the front you can see we've got, probably not from this angle, we've got the Alfa Romeo Sauber down the nose in the cockpit, just so it's not empty and bland, and they don't really have many sponsors, and I can't really see them grabbing many sponsors throughout pre-season and before the season even starts. It would have to be something relatively big for them to be able to actually, get a big title sponsor to have either on the side pods or on the nose or anything like that. But that's that in terms of sponsors. Obviously, by the thumbnail, you can see we've got a humongous Alfa Romeo sticker on the side of the engine covers. Now that, when I was designing this, I kind of felt like I want to keep it similar to last year's. However, I want it to stand out so it looks different, if that makes sense, because there's no point just slapping Raikkonen's numbers on and that be the end of it. So I figured, you know what, we'll do something like that. So we slapped on the Alfa Romeo sticker on the side. Believe me when I tell you that was a pain in the arse. Obviously, other notable change that you can probably see from here is obviously Kimi's helmet. Now the reason it's grey is for those people who followed the off-the-season test or post-season test in Abu Dhabi. A lot of the drivers had different helmets for those who were changing teams, in which case Kimi Raikkonen was one of them. So he just had his helmet stripped of all the sponsors, and it was literally just a grey and black helmet. So there's nothing really else going on with the helmet. You'll get a better shot later on towards the end of the video, unfortunately, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But all in all, this car is a handful. I've noticed while I've been going around and filming these videos for the cars, the Toro Rosso was fine, the Red Bull was fine, the Haas fine, all of them were fine up until now. I don't know if something's changed with the cars and their handling while I've been modding them or anything like that. I haven't put any of the new performances in yet, so they are, as far as I'm aware, the base vanilla handling files. Now if that is the case, then Jesus, this car is awful. Now this one wasn't too bad. I first noticed it on the Williams ages ago, but the Williams really struggled, so I avoided that, which is quite fortunate because I ended up changing the whole livery for that car in the end anyway. I wasn't happy with what it was. I figured I'd give a stab at it. It's quite reminiscent of earlier years, but that'll be one of the last few videos because I've recorded 3, so there's already 4 up, so I'll make 7, and then the final 3 will be the Williams, the Mercedes and the McLaren. I left McLaren to one of the last ones. It's probably one of the best looking ones, but also that is awful as well. Like, I can't get over the fact of how awful these cars feel at the moment. In terms of like driving these cars, that's good. It's obviously a lot harder to drive, but good lord, they are an absolute nightmare. I don't say that lightly. The Force India was really challenging. That'll probably be the next one. To be fair, that'll probably be the one up before the end of the year. I tried this around Monaco, and the Sauber just couldn't hack the steering. It just couldn't. Like, I was sliding all around the gaff. The McLaren was just so slow. I don't know what's going on, to be honest. Like, I haven't raced on the game for a very long time, so that could be it. But at the same token, I don't remember the car feeling this bad back when I started in Crim. Like, look, I'm all over the road. I just physically can't control half of these cars. Now looking back, the Ferrari in particular was obviously easy peasy to drive, just sling that into the corners. But yeah, I went into Abu Dhabi. In all honesty, I can't remember why. I think I was trying out the RUG HUD, ARG HUD even, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't get any pace in the car whatsoever. I was keeping ahead of Vettel, but it's just an absolute nightmare. But in terms of the season mod and where it's at, it's, in all fairness, it's not got much further to go, to be honest. All the helmets are done, like complete. All the cars are done. The race suits, in terms of like the numbers and like the people's names and all that's completely done. Faces are also done. You'll see that, I believe it's at the end of this video, I think. Yeah, looking at the track map, there's 2 Ferraris on the podium, so you'll see it in this video. But this little battle here is, of course, why we've gone to the cinematic shot. This gives you a good example of the Alfa Romeo badge on the engine cover. So this is probably the first time you'll see in the Force India as well, which is quite weird how they cross over in a sense. So we're coming up the hill with, obviously, you've seen the Red Bull. The Red Bull's nothing special at this point. The more I see it, the more I kind of don't like it. But we're going to have to stick with it until the 2018 one comes out at least. And but it's just a nightmare. Like, there was the Renault one that's coming out is, when I started recording it, I was like, crap, I forgot to actually change the livery, because I've got like a pre-season testing version of the livery. I wouldn't run in like the career mode or in the actual season mod, but the race was actually really good. I was driving as Ricciardo, and it just seemed like that car just worked really well. So I'm probably going to end up making 2 videos of the Renault, the pre-season and the regular one. And speaking of pre-season, I'm looking at making a Red Bull one, which will be like a little bit camo-y. But we're going to have to see how that works. Now, I was kind of curious as to why there wasn't a camo version of the Red Bull, because obviously that was what they used this year. And looking into it, I can see why it's not exactly easy. It's very tricky, actually, to map the Red Bull and to have like a pattern on it, because for those who don't understand how modding works, especially for this year, it's a lot more tricky, because a lot of the cars, they've put on like a very tiny little box in a sense, right? So that tiny box, if you try and put a logo on it, it's just gonna be blurry and you can't read it. Now, if you imagine trying to put like a texture on, like a very fine texture with like loads of pixels, and for the Red Bull's case, it covers a majority of the car. So you have to either do it really small, so then it's blurry, and then it stretches and it's blurry, and it's a nightmare. But this is also a nightmare. Going up Rouge, I don't honestly know what happened. I literally lost the car, went on the grass, tried to correct it, and then obviously ended up in the wall. But I didn't have that issue before going through Rouge, and you can see the car just started to shark tail round, which is quite weird because it hasn't got shark fins. But poor Perez, bless him, almost got taken out by us. He lifted off, but not the bad. But you'll see the helmet here as we get out the car. So that was his testing helmet for the pre-season test, end of season test. Jesus Christ, it's too early for this crap. You get to see, obviously, you see Charles actually get out of his car, and even now, if you can look inside where the visor would be, you can see it's his face. Like, it's very easy to tell with drivers on this game the differences, but there isn't much to go. Like I said, with the season mod, obviously, team wear Ricciardo there. That is not his final helmet, don't worry, that is an awful helmet. But I have got a new one, just for whatever reason this wasn't installed. But even in the Renault video, I don't think it's installed either. But that's not the point. There's Charles, and obviously got his little beautiful number 16 on his little racing suit. He looks so adorable. Such a proud father. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Ignore the Finnish flag in the background, because obviously we can't change that. So just ignore that. But anyway, the next one will probably be the Force India. Have a good Christmas, guys, and I'll see you then. Don't eat all the Christmas pies. See you later.